Hi friends, it's Marilyn from tarotclarity.com again, and today's video is another side-by-side. So for those of you who come to my channel for tips on interpreting the decks, I'm sorry that I've had an influx of these kind of videos, but they're, I think, just as important as learning how to interpret the cards because it's part of the process. So for those of you who appreciate these types of videos, thank you. The two decks that I'm doing a side-by-side are the Minchiate Etruria, which was dated by Scarabeo to 1806 to 1807. And, I've often wondered if the one put out by Meneghello wasn't the same deck, except that they have a date of 1725. And I couldn't really figure out if they were the same deck or not, or why they would have different dates. Now, I do have the Minchiate Fiorentine, also by Il Meneghello, but that is a little different. So I haven't looked at this deck yet, and I figured I'd just do a side-by-side and discover with you if the Il Meneghello is the same version as the Lo Scarabeo, just with different dates. We'll start out, the backs are the same. So far they look the same. And, I probably wouldn't have bought the second deck, if I'd known they were exactly the same. But my curiosity got the better of me. And I guess I kind of felt like I can't have one too many Il Meneghellos anyway. So what the hey. So you see the color may be a little different between them. The color choices of the publishers. It appears as though the Lo Scarabeo opted for a more saturated color, but the images are the same, and that could possibly be because the reference point was, maybe it was a black and white drawing, I don't know, black and white drawings, or excuse me, black and white engravings, or for them to have chosen the same colors, it's possible that the originals they referenced did have these colors, and one publishing house just imagined the color differently than the other. And you see it in the backs too. The backs are the same image, but the color is different. So I probably, because there's 97 cards, I probably won't go through each and every card. Will suffice it to say that they are the same, but I'll go a little bit further, and I'll peruse after I get out of the Triumph cards. I'll just peruse the pip cards to see if there's any deviation. So I don't know why when the Il Meneghello cites the deck as coming out in 1725, and the Lo Scarabeo, has a different date of 1806 to 1807. So I don't know why that was. And here, I've commented on it before, but of course we see the money bags, which in my guess is probably a reference to Judas, since he was the 12th apostle of Christ. We have the number 12. Remember, the game of tarot and these images originated in Italy, and they weren't necessarily devoutly religious, but that, religion or, biblical stories was a source of inspiration, as were stories from antiquity, And the fact that the number 12 card, might represent a man hung with sacks of coins, might have had some regions, make a reference to Judas Iscariot for the betrayal of Christ. Because remember, this method of death or hanging was for the crime of treason, the crime of treason, right? So some would argue that, of course, Judas betrayed Christ. It was a treasonous act. Okay, so we clearly have the same deck here. So let's just go through the remainder of the cards until we get to the pips. And remember, these decks also include, astrological cards. They also have the elemental cards. They have the virtues. Now, I don't know if the Lo Scarabeo deck is any longer available. I mean, I didn't have any trouble getting the Il Meneghello deck. I didn't have any trouble ordering it, so I think it's still available there, So maybe you can help by watching this decide which one you prefer to have. The water in the Lo Scarabeo is blue, whereas this is more of a black and white. The cardstock, I mean, the Lo Scarabeo cardstock is nice. It's got the rounded corners. It's got more of a sheen that you can see than the Il Meneghello. This is a matte finish, even though it looks like there's a sheen, but it's really a matte. Maybe the very slightest sheen, but this has a sheen to it. And if you can still get your hands on the Lo Scarabeo, it's a fraction of the cost. Unless it's out of print, then you're starting to get into expensive territory. But if it's still available, or even if it's not, you might be able to get it secondhand for less money. I'm not necessarily, suggesting that you bypass Il Meneghello, and you'll never regret if you buy a deck from Il Meneghello. I mean, we all know that they're the masters, right? Osvaldo Mangazi was undisputably a master. And any deck of his that you buy, and theirs now, because I believe the business is continuing through his, I believe it's his stepdaughter, Christina. I think Christina Dorsini, I think is her name. You'll never regret owning an Il Meneghello. But sometimes our wallets, don't allow us to get, the best there is. When I purchased the Lo Scarabeo, I purchased it because at that time I wanted to save a few bucks, And even though now I thought maybe they would probably be the same deck, I was willing to take a chance and to buy it and to see. And even though now they prove to be the same deck, I'll keep it. I don't mind. I don't mind having a copy. And this will help you too to decide, which version you prefer. And they have the same stamp, same deck. course, the Il Meneghello has the squared corners versus the Lo Scarabeo rounded corners. And their treatment of water is different. We saw that in the ocean, and we see it here in the watering can. One, the Lo Scarabeo, has a bluish tinge to water and to blue jeans. So it looks though as though the Il Meneghello doesn't really have blue when it comes to the treatment of water. It has blue. We'll see in a couple cards that there are some instances of blue, but I don't see it with water. We can see it here. Oh, it still might be gray. It kind of looks like a bluish gray, but I think it's still gray. And for those of you who want to see how the Etruria and the Florentine Minchiates differ, I have a video of the comparison between those two. So if you'd like to see that, just go to my playlist and you'll find it. Or my videos, rather. Just go to my list of videos. I tried, okay, here we go. Here we have the suits. So we have coins of the Il Meneghello. Can take a look at the color, and we'll take a look at the color of the coins of the Lo Scarabeo, which has more color, again with the blue, and the coins are more orange. And again, the same cards with just different saturation of color. So it just comes down to personal preference. And your wallet. And the cups. With the Etruscan type urns. Oh, I took my wedding ring off and my engagement ring when I was cleaning. I better not forget where I put them. the very last suit, the Suit of Swords. So we see the swords have a blue tinge to them in the Lo Scarabeo. Very charming. I like using this deck, especially when I read for myself. Such a pretty deck. And you see here that the swords are more of a steely gray. So there you have it, friends. I hope I have satisfied your curiosity about the differences between these two decks. There really isn't any except for color saturation. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well.